breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. I am your host, Dennis Sert. Let me fix this background real quick. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I got some good stories for us today, so I think we should just jump in. I'm going to add to stage the window I'd like to share. So let's start with some odds and ends. Dow Jones is up about 0.14% today. NASDAQ is down 0.46%. S&P 500 down 0.09%. Bitcoin went up above 90K. So it's at $93,092. Apparently it moved some altcoins up with it. So there you go. I wanted to talk about autonomous vehicles for our first story. So I was reading TechCrunch and I saw this article. Autolane is building air traffic control for autonomous vehicles. This is a really good idea. So what Autolane does, it's basically the startup that raised about $7.4 million in its latest round. And it basically does air traffic controlling, if you will, for autonomous vehicles, i.e., it partners with just certain like public or private areas, like let's call them like airports, let's call them maybe like somebody's like house or something, but maybe it's like a commercial property. So it connects with sort of those areas, as well as with like Waymo, Zoox, Tesla's Cybercab, other autonomous vehicles. Right. So this is actually a really good idea. And so let's read the rapid succession of robotaxi deployments from companies like Waymo and Zoox have people in the industry once again dreaming how autonomous vehicles might change our daily lives. Yeah, so that's what it's talking about. It's talking about like how the, I guess, handoff happens between when a rider exits the vehicle and then when a new rider enters the vehicle. Yeah, so looks like they've already signed a deal with this company, Simon Property Group, to coordinate driverless vehicle arrivals and departures at shopping centers owned by the real estate company in Austin, Texas, and San Francisco, California. Yeah. The deal includes creating simple physical infrastructure like signage. So I saw this a little bit at actually the Montreal airport. What was going on was, I think there was like a strike, like a public transport strike, and I wasn't able to take the bus. I usually just take the 747 bus from the airport to downtown whenever I go. And no, this time the bus service was sort of out, and they had a whole bunch of signs outside the airport, and you just basically pulled out your Uber app, and then of course it wasn't autonomous yet, but it was this, I guess, this new thing. I don't see it very often like elsewhere, but Uber gave me a code, and then I just looked at one of the Uber drivers, kind of sort of, I guess, like hailed them, and then gave them my code, and then they were able to take me. So I guess Autolane is sort of proposing to do something similar to that. And in other autonomous vehicle news, Waymo starts autonomous testing in Philadelphia. Waymo is adding another 4 cities to its growing list of robotaxi rollouts. And so Philadelphia, and then it'll start manual testing to collect data in Baltimore, St. Louis, and Pittsburgh. Okay, so expansion. Well, good for them. I mean, we want to see autonomous vehicle rollouts out there. Uber and Avride launch robo-taxi service in Dallas. Apparently, there's still a safety driver there, but nonetheless, it's you know some good first steps. Of course, in October 2024, Uber and Avride made a deal, and then they ended up essentially Uber ended up leading their Avrides' latest round, 375 million. So it was led by Uber and Nebius Group, and that was actually in October 2025. So here's Avride. So I guess what they're doing is both autonomous vehicles and these like smaller food delivery robots. So Uber is going to be using those as well in the future for Uber Eats. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Looking good. I want this robot to send me food. That would be kind of cool. Okay, let's move on to this Wall Street Journal article. OpenAI declares code red as Google threatens AI lead. Company-wide memo is the most decisive indication yet of pressure OpenAI faces from competitors. Yeah, so apparently there's this memo sent out by Altman to the company internally saying that they're in code red. And this has to do, like, this is in response to Gemini 3. Apparently, it's been doing very well. Gemini or Google just came out with their new image model called Nano Banana. They came out with it on November 20th, so a few weeks ago, but still, well, about 10 days ago. But yeah, anyways, apparently it's been doing pretty well as well. Of course, you also have Anthropic in the mix. Claude Code is the word on the street. I'm sort of getting my hands dirty with OpenAI's Codex. I actually still like ChatGPT. I started out first with them. So I'm using Codex, but maybe I should try Claude Code. I'll give it a go. I'll report back here. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting though. So let's read. OpenAI isn't profitable and has to raise funding at a near constant pace to survive, which puts it at a financial disadvantage against Google and other tech firms that can fund investments out of revenues. The company is also spending more aggressively than its main startup rival Anthropic and will need to grow its revenue to roughly 200 billion to turn a profit in 2030, according to its own financial projections. So in the memo, he said that a new reasoning model that OpenAI is planning to release next week is ahead of Google's latest Gemini model, and that the company is still performing well on various other fronts. So I guess they're going to release a new reasoning model next week. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't use Gemini. I'm just following sort of the benchmarks. And Gemini 3 just objectively has performed better than the others. But that's sort of how this AI model, like, it's not a rat race, but it's kind of a cycle of like, oh, Grok's better now with the new Grok. They're gonna come out with the new Grok 4.20 update soon. So that's definitely coming. We're only at 4.1, but yeah, I mean, we have this cycle of okay, Grok updates and then Anthropic, Claude updates, and then Google Gemini updates, OpenAI updates. It's just this cycle. Yeah, we'll have to see if eventually one of them are going to go out of business. One of them is going to go out of business, and the cycle will break. But I mean, that's not what I'm rooting for. But I wonder how long that cycle is going to go for. What, like 2 years, 5 years, forever? I mean, probably not forever. I think there's going to be a winner. It's hard to say though, who's going to win. But for certain, right now, Gemini is ahead. I would say just based off the benchmarks, but that could change. I mean, I guess next week, right? Um, yeah. Um, Here's this article, Yahoo Tech. Google expands Gemini 3 and Nano Banana Pro availability for AI mode in search globally. So yeah, so this is kind of what they're up to. So this is from yesterday, and then AI mode came out in like March of this year. Um, yeah, and I've been seeing some ads and stuff where they're really pushing for the, oh, you take a picture of it with the Gemini app, and then it's able to find like the exact item, and then the Amazon link for it. So that's kind of like related to this as well. Yeah, so we'll have to follow how AI mode does as a result of the Gemini 3 and Nano Banana Pro integration. Of course, Nano Banana Pro is like an image model. Um, yeah. Let's move on to this. Oh yeah, here's Nano Banana Pro. I want to move on to the final sort of segment that I prepared here. And it's about lower consumer AI sort of hype or perceived hype. I guess less of it. So let's read this article. Microsoft stock falls after report of lowered AI sales quotas. Microsoft stock fell 2% Wednesday morning following a report from the information that the tech giant has reduced sales quotas for its AI software products as customers show resistance to new offerings. You know, this is part of a bigger trend. If you look at this other article about Apple Intelligence from MacTech.com, it says here, a new CNET study finds that just 11% of US smartphone owners choose to upgrade their devices because of AI features, a 7% drop from a similar survey last year. Now, Apple Intelligence has its own problems, and we're going to talk about that here, but this definitely is in line with sort of Microsoft's issue of having lower AI sales quotas. It means that consumers are sort of becoming disillusioned with AI. Now, that doesn't mean that AI is going to suddenly like, go bad. Like we're not going to, it's not like, oh, the bubble's going to pop necessarily. I just think that I actually mentioned this when I first started the show about a month ago. I talked about how consumers don't necessarily like, I sort of predicted this. I sort of predicted that consumers are going to kind of become more and more lazy, maybe myself included. I don't know, but um, probably not. But anyways, basically, consumers are going to be more and more lazy, and they're going to stop, essentially like prompting, right? Because again, it kind of takes some cognitive load. You have to go into ChatGPT, you have to go into Gemini, you have to go into Grok, you have to go into Claude, and you have to like say, oh, give me a whatever it is that I guess like normal consumers would use. I'm sort of more of like a tech founder, so I use it for like coding and stuff. But you know, maybe like, oh, give me a recipe for like a new chocolate chip cookie or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, but like that's gonna go down, or that sort of like user behavior is gonna go down now that this technology isn't as. I mean, now that it's not as new, right? And so this is kind of accurately portrayed by the Gartner hype cycle. So yeah, there are four or five. Let me pull it up. Yeah, well, there's a few of these like segments. So 5 of them. There's the innovation trigger, the peak of inflated expectations, the trough of disillusionment, slope of enlightenment, and the plateau of productivity. So this is basically like a tech hype cycle. And a lot of people say that and I am saying, in fact, that I think we're entering this trough of disillusionment based on what we've been reading with the stats with Microsoft and Apple. I think that consumers are sort of going to be turned off from like, oh my god, just seeing like, oh, AI features everywhere, right? Because the thing is, like, if you take Apple Intelligence for an example, I mean, I feel like there's a limited amount of like imagination that regular consumers would want to do with AI. Like, okay, I mean, I could list off a bunch of stuff they could do, but like what? I mean, let's look at Apple Intelligence for instance, right? I was looking for an article, but I'll just let it be. But with Apple Intelligence, they have this really like this nice to have feature, Genmoji. Okay, all right. Well, I can make my own emoji. I mean, I've never used that, and I'm sort of a power user of AI. I haven't even used that once. I've never made myself an emoji or a Genmoji with Apple Intelligence. I don't really bother with the summaries that I guess it does. Like, you know, I guess I'll have people texting me, and then I'll have to read the summaries just real quick because it's just right there. There's nothing you can do. That's the extent of how much Apple Intelligence sort of like affects me. I use Gmail, so like the Gmail app rather than the Apple Mail app. I just think it refreshes faster. So I like it more. But yeah, I've never seen any AI summaries from Apple Intelligence in that way. I mean, I don't use Apple Intelligence at all, so I'm not surprised that there's a 7% drop in Apple Intelligence demand, and it's already quite low. Like just 11%, 10% of U.S. smartphone owners choose to upgrade their devices because of AI. Like, talk about overhype. And so shifting gears into Apple here, I mean, and here's this article from the New York Times from December 1st, 2 days ago. Apple's AI chief who failed to deliver a smarter Siri is retired. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, they failed. They couldn't do it. Apple has fallen behind rivals in efforts to develop AI products. So this guy, John Gianandrea, was hired from Google, but he's leaving after the release of a new Siri was postponed. Yeah, and it goes into it here. He was one of the 16 direct reports to Tim Cook. He's also reportedly going to leave sometime soon. Reportedly, it's going to be in like January or February, just after this sort of like Christmas cycle. And then we've covered that before, but yeah, I mean, it's such a tragedy what happened to AI and Apple. Of course, now they're trying to, Apple is reportedly going to pay $1 billion a year to Google to use like this custom version of Gemini on their own servers, to keep up the privacy. Yeah. I mean, Google and Apple already have an interesting relationship because I think Google pays, I think in the ballpark of about 16 or 17 billion dollars to Apple already a year to keep Google as sort of the default search engine on Apple. Um, so I guess, I don't want to say $1 billion is a drop in the bucket compared to $16 billion, but yeah, I mean, point being though, Apple's still kind of giving a lot of money nonetheless to Google to use it, but they could have just built it themselves, which is what they tried to do, I think. I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I don't think they were trying to build it themselves. I think that they were trying to they thought Siri was okay enough. They didn't care about it. Apparently, once ChatGPT came out in 2022, they canceled their self-driving car project. I mean, I can't believe it. They canceled it, and now they've been kind of trying to catch up. They haven't been successful in that. The top AI chief's leaving now. There are delays. Apple Intelligence was a flop. I mean, and there's no self-driving car. I mean, what the hell? Yeah, I sort of want to play this clip of this Wall Street Journal interview from about 5 months ago. It's only like I only want to play like a 10-second long or maybe like a 30-second long clip of that. So let me go ahead and do that here. All right, here we go.
Was demoware only. No, it was again something we thought, as Craig said, would actually ship by later in the year. And look, we don't want to disappoint customers. We never do, but it would have been more disappointing to ship something that didn't hit our quality standard, that had an error rate that we felt was unacceptable. So we made what we thought was the best decision. I'd make it again.
Yeah, I'm sure. So this is so Craig Federighi on the left, software chief on the right here speaking. Greg Joswiak, marketing head. And yeah, I'm sure he'd make it again. Not. I mean, come on. No, they totally dropped the ball on it. And you can kind of tell just from the tone of his voice that no, they would not make that decision again if it came down to it. In terms of their rollout of Apple Intelligence. So there's that straight from the horse's mouth. Okay. That's sort of what I wanted to talk about today. Let's dive into the sponsor of the show, Byte AI, market analysis. Byte AI is a financial co-pilot that essentially analyzes technical indicators like the RSI curve, the Bollinger Bands, the MACD/signal curve, as well as news sentiment. And it comes out with a succinct sort of analysis and underbought, overbought, or neutral. So we see here NVIDIA is underbought, and in a second we'll see why. Just remember that Byte AI nor I are financial advisors. We are not financial advisors. And past success does not guarantee future results. So that being said, let me just take a quick look here. So NVIDIA is underbought, shows a confluence of undersold signals. The RSI is at 40.4, putting in underbought territory. MACD is flat to slightly bullish, indicating limited downside unless selling accelerates. Mostly bullish tone for the news. Okay, and then we got a couple other of these guys that are going to generate here. Okay, Tesla underbought. RSI at 46.85. MACD near the signal line with limited momentum. And it's kind of near the lower band. Okay. Overall, Tesla sentiment is mixed but modestly bullish in the near term, driven by China market momentum and a strategic push into the EV semi-truck segment. Wow. Every single one is underbought today. Amazon is showing an extreme oversold condition on multiple fronts. The RSI is at 31.7. That's quite low. Earning beat alongside continued AWS cloud momentum underpins the tone, whereas Amazon marketplace partnerships illustrating expanding enterprise adoption. Yeah. Okay, Meta, RSI 32.8. Institutional buying, solid earnings outlook underpin optimism. Meta's underbought. Okay, have we done Amazon? Yeah, 31.7. Yeah, we just did. Okay. Cool. Okay, I think we are going to leave it there. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Make sure to download Byte AI Market Analysis. It's available as an iOS app as well as a web app. You can find it at app.byteai.me. The link is in the corner here. Use podcast20 for a 20% discount off your first month, and that's through the Stripe web checkout. All right. Have a great day, and hopefully you make lots of money out there. Peace.